Hello everyone. So today we're going to start with the topic classes and objects. You know, all the OOPS concepts, object oriented programming concepts, are based on classes and objects only. What are those concepts? We'll work on that later, but you must know the base of all OOPS concepts is classes and objects. Now, before getting into it, we must understand the definition. When I was learning classes and objects, I got to know many definitions which were very confusing. And I'm trying my best to make it so easy for you. So, what I'm going to do is I will combine those definitions with real time examples to make you understand. Let's understand what is class. A class is like a blueprint, it defines how something should be. Now look at the example. Let's say I want students to be registered in the class by filling this registration form. So I have to make a blueprint of the registration form. That means I have to design the registration form. So this is class in which I'm writing all the fields which I require. Name, father's name, mother's name, phone number, email, gender, date of birth, address, etc. But this is just a blueprint. But what is object? The object is an actual filled form from that design. So if you'll fill that form with a particular data of a student, that's called object of that form. So we are making a blueprint now. There can be hundred of students. Everyone will have different names, different addresses, father name, mother name, whatever details you're asking for. So classes are just giving you the blueprint, the designs, but what data needs to be filled is defined by the objects. So similarly in Python, a class is defining the structure and the objects are instances of that class. Don't get confused with this heavy words called instances of the class. It is just that objects are like values which you fill in the class. You initiate variable of the class. This is the easiest understanding of objects and classes. I know guys, over the internet it's a lot of confusing definitions and there is only one example, car and cars design. It's quite difficult to relate with that. So I hope you understood what is class and object with this example. We'll practically implement this example and show you how it actually practically works. Now, in order to make class, you will write a keyword here, class, and name of the class. Remember, so the first letter for the class name should be capital. So I'm naming it as registration. And here I'll put colon and then I will write down the variable name. So for example, I'm writing name and assign name as Alan. And now I'm using other variable, let's say course and Python. Okay, so I've declared two variables. Now, if I want to use its value or print its value, you know the method is, I can write print name. Let me change the file to my current file, execute it. See, the name is being displayed here. Now, this is simple, right? We are declaring a variable. We can do the same thing without even creating a class. But I want to show you something here. Why we are creating objects, why we are creating a blueprint and then objects, why can't we do it in a class only? I'll show you. Let's say one more student is getting registered now in the course and name of that student is Scott. Let's execute it. Name is coming as Scott. But what about Alan? If you're declaring variables anywhere in the class outside, variables takes only one value, that is a current value. The previous value is now overridden. Value which you're assigning to the name is now Scott. Alan is not there anymore. Alan is overridden by Scott. We all understand that. But this should not be the case. We want to register, maybe we want to register 100 students. So where is the record of previous student? So if we will go with this variables and assigning value to them, it's not going to happen. That's why we need objects. Objects are like instances of the class. Now I think you can understand the practical meaning. Objects are like instances of the class which gonna initiate these variables and you can give different values to them according to your requirements. How to initiate that? Let's see. I'm just removing this here. And here I'm creating an object. How to create an object? For that, I will write any object name. So I'm writing obj. This is the name of the object with which I'll refer this class variables. Obj assign name of the class. Now, in this case, name of the class is registration. So I'm writing registration and brackets. This is how you make object of any class. Now see, whenever I'll write obj dot, I can refer to these variables here. So if I'm writing obj dot name, let's say, and I want to print it, okay? So print obj dot name. Execute this also and see, the name is coming as Alan. Here also it is printing as Alan. Here also it is printing as Alan. Again, that should not be a case. No, I mean, again, it is showing Alan to me. I want to give different name. I do not want to give the same name again and again. It is showing me Alan, and there is no provision here that I can assign name on my own. What should I do in this case? I need to connect the dots. Connecting the dots is constructor. It's very simple, guys. You need to just declare one method here, and name of the method is double underscore init and this self. What is self? What is self? Self parameter. When you define a method in a class, the first parameter is typically self. This parameter represents the object that calls the method. Class methods must have extra first parameter in the method definition, and that is self. Self is used to access variables that belong to class. So guys, if you want to access variables of the class, initiate the variables of the class. That's why it is init. If you want to initiate the variables of the class, we use self. That's the first parameter in any class. So let's see. Here I'm writing self. Then after self, you can write the variables name, comma, course. These two variables are there. Now I need to remove this. And here one line you need to include. Let me remove this also. Here one line you need to write. So self dot. Here you can write name. That is your variable. Assign. And you can again write name. What is this? You're saying whenever this object will call for the name, wherever any object calls for the name, please substitute value which they have given in the bracket. So this is substitution. So name is initiating this. Same way I'm writing self dot course. Give course value to this. Done. Now if you want to give a different name, see here what you can write. Go with the sequence here. So whatever the sequence of variables are there, parameters are there in the init, accordingly you will give parameter here. So what we did here is object registration, but now this bracket won't be empty. You will write the name which you want to pass. So let's say first registration form is filled by Scott. Scott is the name, and course he is interested in Python. See, it is substituted here. Now let's see how it works. Look at this. Scott is a value. Because I'm asking for Scott, I'm printing Scott. That's why it's telling me Scott is the value. Although you can see course also along with it. So you can write down the same line. And rather than name, I can write course. Let me give you the quick overview what happened here when we wrote this line. Because theoretically, it's difficult to understand. Practically, it's more relatable. So look at this. You created an init method. This is initiation method and it's also known as constructor. So what is constructor? Constructor is used to initialize the variables of the objects. So here you created an object and look at this. You are initiating the object's variable. Here you are saying this method's name must assign to the name which you give in an object. This method's course should be given to the course which you give in the value which you pass in a object. So this is what your init method is. It's mandatory to write init method. Now with the help of objects, you are not just supposed to access variables. You can access method of that class also. So we just access the variables. I'll show you how to access methods. So for that, first we'll create a method. So I'm writing define name of the method eligibility colon brackets and then colon. Look at this. Moment I wrote brackets, the self parameter will come automatically. As I've told you, in class, this will be the first extra parameter which will come automatically. So this is self, and then I'm writing other parameters, for example, qualification. And now I can print one statement, print f string, I am, and then we can put qualification parameter here, close the braces. This is what it is. So how to call it? Exactly same way. You will write print. I want to print it, so I'm writing print, and look at this. Obj, that is my object's name, dot, and here I have eligibility, where I need to pass the value. So I am, let's say, BTech. Let's execute this. So I am BTech. So guys, this is how you define variables and methods in your class, and with the help of objects you can use it. Now this is for one student. Let's say now I want to make it for other student. So obj2 second object, this is the second instance of the class. So obj2 assign. So registration, this is the class name. Syntax of object is object name, assign your class name, then brackets. In brackets, if you have initiated this method here, then you will be using the value which you want to substitute in these variables. Okay, I'll show you here again. So registration, first value is, let's say, Karen, and wants to learn Java. The course interested is Java. Now, if you want to print this, again, print reference variable obj2, name of the object. And when you write dot, you can access the parameters as well as methods of the class. So here, I want to use name, let's say, and I want to print. So Control C and Control V. I want to print course. And let's say I want to access eligibility too. In this case, guys, we are not required to use print statement because in the body of the method, only the print statement is there. So it will anyhow print you. This is just to show you one way of doing it, but this you can do without print statement also, because in the body of the method, print statement is already there. So eligibility, here I'm saying qualification is, let's say, commerce. So here I'll change a little bit. I have done BTech. That makes more sense. So commerce, and let's execute this. See, I have done commerce, Karen, Java. You are seeing different values here. Now you understand what is object? With the help of class, you made a form for registration, a blueprint with parameters as well as methods. And with the help of objects, you filled different values here. So you are able to access the parameters or variables of your classes with the help of objects. And you can do so by using init method. This is constructor. I hope guys now the concept of objects and classes are super clear. As it is clear, we can easily now understand the OOPS concept like inheritance, polymorphism, abstractions, etc. On that note, guys, thank you so much. And I advise you to practice this as much as possible to be more confident on it. Thank you so much.